Let's be real. In the business world today, it feels like we're constantly getting hit by market shifts, supply chain nightmares, and just one unexpected crisis after another. Just keeping your head above water can feel like a victory. But what if all that chaos, all that volatility, could actually be your secret weapon? We're going to dive into a concept that goes way beyond just surviving. It's called antifragility.
I mean, think about it. You know the drill. Your team takes a big hit, and the goal is always to be resilient, right? To bounce back to where you were before everything went sideways. But in today's world, if you're just getting back to the starting line, you're actually falling behind. So is resilience really the best we can aim for?
And this is where it gets really interesting. See, resilience is all about weathering the storm, getting back to normal. Anti-fragility, that's about transformation. It sees stress and shocks as fuel. An anti-fragile leader doesn't just take a punch and get back up. They use the force of that punch to get stronger, faster, and way more innovative.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to move beyond resilience, take a quick look at the actual biology of strength, and then jump into a super practical playbook for leaders. First for you, and then for your entire team. All right, let's kick things off. Section 1, Beyond Resilience. This is all about making that mental shift from just surviving stress to actually thriving on it.
So here's the thing you really got to get about anti-fragility. It's not a passive state. It's not about just being tough and waiting for a crisis to be over. No, it's a proactive strategy. You're actively embracing discomfort and treating every single challenge like a learning opportunity, a chance to get better.
Now, this might sound like some high-level business philosophy, right? But it's actually baked right into our biology. Let's look at the why behind this, how a little bit of controlled stress is literally what our bodies use to get stronger.
The fancy scientific term for this is hormesis. And all it really means is that a moderate dose of a stressor kicks our bodies into gear, triggering a response that makes the whole system stronger and more robust. It's just like lifting weights. You stress the muscle, you create tiny tears, and it repairs itself to be stronger than it was before.
A vaccine is the perfect way to think about this. You introduce a tiny, controlled version of a threat. The body doesn't get overwhelmed. Instead, it learns, it adapts, it builds up its defenses, and it becomes way more prepared for the real thing. That's hormesis in a nutshell.
But, and this is a huge but for any leader, it's all about finding that sweet spot. It's called the hormetic window. If you give your team too little challenge, you get boredom, people start coasting. If you give them way too much, you get anxiety, you get burnout. The magic happens right in the middle, a perfectly matched challenge that pushes people just outside their comfort zone. That's where you find well-being, innovation, and serious growth.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Now for the fun part, the how. Let's get into a practical framework any leader can use. It's called the TAI framework. And here it is. It's a simple but powerful model. Think of it like a three-pronged attack. Top-down is all about your mind, how you think. Bottom-up is about your body, managing your physiology. And outside-in is all about the environment you create. You master all three, and you're not just building a resilient team, you're building a truly anti-fragile one. So let's start with the person in the mirror, you. Because you can't lead an anti-fragile team until you get a handle on your own internal world. And that means using both top-down and bottom-up strategies.
The top-down approach is basically thinking about your thinking. The technical term is metacognition. It's that ability to step outside yourself for a second and just observe your own thoughts. So instead of getting that instant jolt of panic when bad news drops in a meeting, you notice the feeling, you pause, and you choose a more strategic response. That tiny gap between stimulus and reaction, that's where leadership happens.
And a perfect example of this in action is deliberately shifting from a threat mindset to a challenge mindset. When a crisis hits, you can train yourself to see it not as a disaster, but as an opportunity to grow, to learn, to maybe even grab some market share. And that little reframe, it's been proven to massively improve your decision-making under pressure. Now, working alongside that is the bottom-up approach. This is all about tuning into your body. You know that feeling, right? Your heart starts racing before a really tough conversation. That's your ancient fight-or-flight system kicking in. A super simple technique like a 4-second breath in and a 6-second breath out can physically calm that response down, clearing your head so you can think straight. Okay, so once you start mastering your own internal state, it's time to scale it. And that brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the outside-in approach. This is where you, the leader, actively design an environment that helps your entire team get stronger from challenges. To really get this, let's look at a kind of amazing example from nature. You've seen fireflies, right? Well, they don't just blink randomly. They actually respond to each other. And pretty soon, they're all glowing in sync. This creates this incredible coordinated display that actually confuses their predators. It gives the whole group a massive survival advantage. Your team is exactly like that swarm of fireflies. It's a social network. When you, as the leader, have a challenge-seeking mindset, it's contagious. It creates this chain reaction. Your behavior, your attitude, it sets the rhythm for everyone else. And pretty soon, you have a group that's way more adaptive and innovative together than they ever could be apart. And this network effect only really works in what's called a facilitative environment. That's the opposite of an unrelenting one, which is all about fear and pressure. A facilitative environment is built on 3 pillars: autonomy, competence, and a sense of connection. This is the kind of place where antifragility can actually take root and grow. And you can actually build this. It's not magic. You set clear, challenging goals. You give your people the freedom to figure out how to get the work done. And this is probably the most important part. You create a space where it's safe to experiment, where mistakes are seen as learning moments, and feedback is always about getting better, not about placing blame. So let's just tie this all together. Building an anti-fragile organization isn't about throwing your team into chaos. It's about becoming a master of that hormetic window, finding those perfectly tuned, comfortable challenges that stretch your team just enough to grow. So I'll leave you with a challenge of your own. What is one small, manageable challenge you can introduce to your team tomorrow to start building that anti-fragile muscle?